All right, so first of all, this is my family. Entrepreneurship is an interesting career. I left BYU, I was pre-med and decided against med school and then went into entrepreneurship. And one of the key factors in my life has been my family and especially my wife. We never talk when we're courting and before we're married, say, hey, by the way, I'm not going to get a regular job and we're going to have to eat potato soup for a couple of years, every meal, and sleep on a mattress or under a desk, and I might not come home very much at night for the first 10 years of our marriage because I'll be working on a company. We don't talk about that, so it's good to talk about those things. So part of the program here, hopefully you're learning about the lifestyle of an entrepreneur and that in your family. All right, so with that, let me tell you about my career. So 85, I left BYU, and I got involved, and I'm having problems. So I got to stick over here. Not sure why that's not clicking. Let's see. Did it click now? Okay, there you go. It's just going slow. All right. So I went into the Yellow Pages business. Yellow Pages business is interesting. In the old days, it was just putting black ink on yellow paper and distribute it to homes and businesses, and you made huge profits. So I got into that business and technologically advanced some of the industry. For instance, I was one of the first publishers to do 4-color ads, where we would actually do 4-color printing on paper and things like that. But the real thing that happened to me is in 1995, I launched the first ever Yellow Pages on the internet. And everybody got excited in the industry and thought I was a little nuts and crazy. I sold the print publishing company and launched fully with this internet company, and then had 10 huge companies want to buy it in 1996. Because in 1996, a company called Netscape, which invented the graphical browser for the internet. If you remember the story, Mark Andreessen from the University of Illinois was a student, just like you. He wrote a piece of software that turned the text information into graphic information on the internet, and we could interface with the internet in a graphical way. The program was called Mosaic, and then it became Netscape, and it went public in 1996, and the internet era was born, and it went nuts. And so I said, hey, well, these Yellow Pages are just a database. Let's put them up on the internet. And everybody liked the idea. So 10 companies went to buy it. I was talking with Microsoft for about a year. And then 3 people that I was talking to at Microsoft, or people that were at Microsoft getting the information of my discussions, decided to leave Microsoft. And I got together with them, and they said that I should join up with them. And so I looked at it, thought about it, and eventually merged with them. So we 4 were the nucleus of InfoSpace, a company that went on to become one of the largest early internet companies and went from 4 people to 1,500 people. And the experience was kind of interesting. So let me tell you, it still exists today. And I think I'm having a range problem, so I better stick over here. So let me tell you about entrepreneurship. I look at entrepreneurship as having 2 main purposes. We want to change the world with our products and services. And number 2, we want to create wealth. Now, it's also entrepreneurship for social reasons, for doing something. But when you're starting a company, a big motivation is that you're going to create wealth for your family, for yourself, for your employees, for your co-founders. You're going to help your customers and your vendors, and there's going to be an economy around this that creates wealth. And so change the world and keep an eye on whether you're creating wealth. Well, interestingly enough, I went through this process from start to finish and went through the American experience of starting with nothing and having a company go public on the stock exchange. And so what happened was in 1998, 2 years after actually forming the company, I had personally been involved in thousands of contracts and signed deals with customers. And we were on fire. And so Wall Street wanted to take us public. And so on December 15th, 1998, we went public at $15 a share. So when you do that for $15 a share going public, what do you think, as one of the early founders, I paid per share for that stock? Any ideas? Did I pay for it? None of you know? What do you think is the most common thing? Usually it's called infinitesimal pricing. Matter of fact, I probably paid like 1/100th of a penny per share. And when it went public, it went out at $15 a share. And then, over the next year and a half to 2 years, there were 3 stock splits. And it's interesting what that means. That means that you get twice as many shares and they have the price. And so this kept happening until eventually on March 3rd of 2000, the stock was worth $138.50. And adjusted for those splits, that's $1,108 a share. Now, I'm telling you this story because it has a lot of sub-stories. First of all, when you dream of being an entrepreneur, a lot of times this is the dream for people. But I'm also here to tell you that of the first 80 people at the company, at age 34 or 32, in that range where I was at, I was the second oldest person. Most were in their 20s. The first 400 people at our company became multimillionaires. And it destroyed most of their lives. Most of them ended up less happy afterwards. And you go, what? Is that really true? I'm here to tell you it's true. So one thing that's great about being here at BYU and talking about these stories is that you need to be prepared for failure and for success with the gospel framework when you go out into the business world and pursue entrepreneurship in a way that you've been learning about and hearing about from others. You need to be prepared for all the things that come at you, whether bad or whether good, and be ready for it. It's quite an interesting thing in a matter of 2 or 3 years to go from nothing, and I knew people that were 22 years old, had nothing, pushing a shopping cart to work because they had no car, and then 2 years later they were buying islands in Fiji. And so this experience is interesting, and there's a lot to be learned. So the program here at BYU, I just want to tell you, is excellent for keeping your head on straight and pursuing excellence in your pursuits in business, but keeping the importance and the focus on family and the gospel and what's important. So with that, this increase was dizzying, and I never thought this would happen to me, but it left some options in life. So what happens to an individual in business and entrepreneurship when this goes on is they often go to the next part of life in entrepreneurship, which is they start saying, well, I don't want to work that hard again and start a company from scratch necessarily. I think I'm going to invest in other people that want to work that hard, like you guys. And I'm going to give my money to them and see what they do with it and see if they can do what I did. And so these people are called angel investors. And so I became an angel investor. I've probably invested in over 65 new companies and mentored somewhere between 1,000 to 2,000 of them. And these companies involve many, many BYU student companies. Many companies started by BYU students. And this is an old list. There's many more lists I could put on this now because I haven't updated this for a long time. One of the most interesting ones, of course, where is it? Is Omniture on here somewhere? Right side. So, one day I walked in to Josh James and John Pastana down on Center Street in Provo. I was still living in Seattle, and I flew down here, met with them. They were in a dingy, dark office on the second floor of an old building on Center Street. And I just felt something special about them. Didn't know if they were going to make it for sure, but I handed them a big check. And then over the next 10 years, I watched them go from nothing to dying almost about 10 times. And then all of a sudden, they figured out how to sell their product. And all of a sudden, they were telling me, oh, we got 9 million sales. Oh, we got 20 million sales. We got 60 million sales. Got 120 million sales. Got 180 million sales. Got 250 million in sales. And they went public, and then they were eventually bought for $2 billion by Adobe. And I saw that whole thing. Matter of fact, it might have been in this room or one of the rooms in this building for sure, where Josh James, a theater major, was sitting back, not paying attention too much in class, and tipping on his chair in the back, and John Pastana was up in front here, and they were asking questions, and John Pastana kept answering all the questions right, and all of a sudden they said, okay, form groups of 2. And Josh James ran up to the front and said, I want to be on your team. And that's how Omniture was born. So, all right. So with this, one other lesson I'll share with you. This is my worst investment of all time. It's a movie. Independent movies are losers. They're sure fun, but they never return the investment to the investors unless you get very, very lucky. So this was called The Haunting of Marston Manor. It got 1 star in the Salt Lake Tribune and 1 star in the Deseret News and never made a dime. So there you go. All right. Now, one of my greatest accomplishments of my life, I feel, is coming to BYU and helping build up the Center for Entrepreneurship Technology. I spent 12 years doing it. It's exciting to see. We went from nowhere to being as high as number 3 ranked entrepreneurship program. Right now, I think currently it's number 9. Is that right, Steve? Number 9. So this is accurate. That's amazing. And the company that is kept by this program is in the likes of Harvard and MIT and Stanford. BYU is as strong or stronger than all of those programs, and I've been to all of them and worked with them. It's exciting to see. So fantastic part of the program. If you're not involved in the program, you should get involved. All right, we mentioned Utah Student 25. I won't belabor that, but if you know of any student entrepreneurs, they should be applying and participating in this, because the #1 company every year has gone on to greatness in this program, and some of the top companies have just exploded because of the attention they've gotten from it. I did want to mention that Boom Startup is an interesting phenomenon. Seed accelerators, these are places that cocoon a startup during the most dangerous time and help them get through the early stage. We run it down at Camp 4 in Provo. Ever heard of Camp 4? Anybody here to Camp 4? So Camp 4 in the summertime we run it. It dramatically increases your success. 3% of all tech companies get funded only. If you go into these programs, 70% of them get funded, and they get the money they need to go where they need to go. It's exciting. Last year was our best year ever, and some of those companies are going to go on to greatness, are already getting acquisition offers, and these are people that just a year ago, this time of year, didn't know what in the world they were doing in life. They had an idea, and they got into an accelerator, and now they're sitting on top of a company worth millions and millions of dollars in 1 year. And they're just like you, students, young. Anything's possible. Now, these things are growing like crazy. This is the trend for accelerators, and this is the trend for venture capitalists. This is telling you that the way to start companies is the lean startup model taught by BYU and many other schools now, and that the old days of venture capital dominating new scenes of entrepreneurship are gone. So, could spend a lot of time on that, but I won't. Here's one thing about Boom Startup. We were number 14th ranked in 2011. The 2014 rankings just came out, and we moved up to number 12. Yay, clap, yay. Thank you. So we moved up 2. This is exciting. Here, there were maybe about 200 accelerators in the world. There's now 12,000 worldwide of some kind of accelerators, and we're number 12. We were the 7th ever to start here, and it's a Utah-based accelerator, and it's really fun, and it's a great program to be a part of. So if any of you know any software-based companies that want to get into a program, have them apply at Boom Startup and get involved, because we can help take you to the next level. Okay, so how it works on this, if you don't know, is that we found it in 2010. We get several hundred applicants. It's more than this now. We have about 50 mentors involved in the program. You get $20,000. You give up 6% common stock in your company. You get free rent. And then at the end of the program, there's a demo day where we bring 200 investors into a room, and you get to present to them. And we teach you how to do all this and get your product underway, how to make revenue, et cetera, et cetera. And these demo days have been held on these dates. And like I said, last year we had just a phenomenal success. So many of the companies got funded and are doing really well. So the applications are open right now, and anybody that wants to talk about this, email me, or let's talk and see what's possible. That's me. So I guess to sum up in one word is I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an angel investor. I'm an entrepreneurial professor, former now, and then I took a weird twist in life in the last year. I was, in 2012, Provo had a fiber network, and they had sold it, and the company that bought it defaulted on the note and returned the asset back to the city of Provo. The mayor of Provo formed a committee to figure out what to do. So Provo, 10 years ago in 2003, had the vision to build a high-speed internet network and knew how important it was to the future. And it really is phenomenal that they did it that early and did it that completely, covering the entire city. But they weren't good at running the business on top of it, so they sold it to another company to do that. They didn't make it. This committee was formed. I got on the committee, and I was the crazy guy. I said, have you thought about giving away the internet for free? And they looked at me really funny for like 2 meetings. And then I did a bunch of research. I found 13 cities in the U.S. already doing something like that. And I found the Google Fiber project, which I just announced in Kansas City. And I said, hey, Mayor, you want to really make a difference? Have you thought about Google Fiber and programs like that? Maybe you should go talk to some of these people. And then he quietly went and did that. He went and talked to a lot of people and ultimately to Google. And Mayor John Curtis, a fantastic local politician and businessman, closed the deal and sold it to Google Fiber. It's amazing. And Provo became the 3rd city for Google Fiber to say they were going to come in and put on a state-of-the-art gigabit network. It's a huge deal. It was a big deal, and it still is. So interestingly enough, then after that, they wanted a local leader, and I'm not sure why, but John Curtis thought I'd be good at it, and he put my name in the hat. I didn't take it seriously, but then all of a sudden I did, and after 2.5 months and 12 interviews, yes, 2.5 months, 12 interviews, that's how Google rolls. And if you want to get on Google, it's very challenging. And so 12 interviews, I was asked to take the position, and it's been an interesting, crazy, wild ride. I think I'm working for the most well-funded startup in history. That's what it feels like, which is weird, right? Because lean startup, but this is a big boy business. You need a lot of capital to be in this industry. So what I'm going to do now is tell you about Google Fiber a little bit. Are you interested in that? Would that be interesting to you? Okay, so let's go and learn a little bit about what Google Fiber is. First of all, I want you to get a little bit of information about these networks and how important they are. How do we turn sound on? Is it just turning it up? We might need Steve Little. What do you think, Steve? Yep. Oh, mine was on.
That's up pretty high. That ought to be doing it. And then let's see. You got that on. I'm not hearing the.
Okay, let's see now. Okay, well, I'm going to go past it then maybe and see if you figure it out. Okay, so let me tell you what this is about. Susan Crawford is the guru for the federal government on broadband internet. She now left and went back to her teaching post, I believe, at Princeton, and she wrote a book called Captive Audience. This book's really interesting, and it talks about how important high-speed internet is going to be to the future of this country and each nation, and how America is falling behind. And that's because of interesting, I'll just go past it and summarize the video. That's all right. So I'm not sure why that's not working. So, and she talks about how the most important politicians in the country are mayors, because they're very good at city level building bridges and roads and getting things done for infrastructure. And so she, in this video, was going to talk about Provo and Mayor Curtis and the smart moves that Provo had made and their smart move of joining up with Google Fiber. So you were going to hear that, but you didn't get to hear that. So let me tell you a little bit about the growth in technology innovation. First of all, over the last few decades, we've seen that, and this is part of the laws you were talking about, right? Moore's Law. We've seen that computing power has exponentially grown. We've seen that storage, the amount of hard disk and just data storage has exponentially grown in our capabilities. But the pipe or the data speeds of the internet have not grown at the same rate. And they've plateaued here in America. And there's long-term implications to you, your children, and your grandchildren if this trend doesn't get corrected. So, the object of Google Fiber, and the reason that Google Fiber started is because Larry Page, the founder of Google, was sitting with the federal government, and the federal government was lamenting that the federal government's not good at getting these initiatives done. And so Google Fiber said, well, we're going to go to work on this. We're going to make a change. And so with that, instead of going at today's momentum, Google Fiber is trying to make it go and turn up the way the rest of technology has. That's the object. Yes?
You're not saying that the laboratory speeds we can get have stayed flat. You're saying the actual internet speeds that we have in our homes.
The average speeds of homes and businesses. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. The availability, the price per megabit is an issue, and the speed. Matter of fact, the world's average speed, we rank number 8. This is a problem. Access to the internet is now correlated with lots of advancements in today's modern society and opportunity. Now, another problem is the cost. We rank number 6 in bringing the cost down. Nations like in Southeast Asia and Europe have much cheaper and faster access to the internet than we do. I was just with a delegation from Germany 2 days ago. They came to visit me in Provo, and they told me that they pay one price for wired gigabit, Wi-Fi in their home, their cell service for all their devices. They carry 2 or 3 of them on them, and it's really fast and it's really cheap. And so the reason we're not getting a lot of this is because of companies are profit-oriented, and if they can stay and deliver slow speeds to only affluent neighborhoods and keep churning the money machine, they're going to do it. So this is one place where I've come to believe that we need to understand that the right to good, fast, inexpensive internet is the same right to electricity and hot water. People need this to participate in today's economy. All right, so with that said, let's keep looking at what's going on here. Basically, the average speeds in America right now is a 7.8 megabit per second download. The upload average speed is 2.2, and Google Fiber is supplying 1,000 up and down. All right? Now, this is important to a lot of things. For instance, when we have dial-up speeds, certain applications were able to be invented and developed. And then when we got to broadband, we get more applications coming. And we haven't even begun to understand what it means to have a gigabit down and up and what we'll be able to do with that. I can tell you that it's important enough that companies move to where they can get that. Residences move to where they can get that. But what if it were ubiquitous? Now,
John?
Yep.
To that point, oh, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I have another video that we can't hear, so that's good.
To that point, have we seen an increase in Provo real estate values yet because of this?
There's estimates that having fiber to the home, which Google Fiber is, which is fiber to the home, not shared with anybody else in the neighborhood, because that's the concept of fiber. It's your connection. You don't have to share it with your neighbors. And having that enhances by 20% the value of a home.
20%?
Yep. So I'm going to check out and see if I can fix this, but I'm not sure I can. So well, I'm not over here. These are really fun, cool videos about Google Fiber that would have made you feel really good. How's that? okay? And not only that, makes you, what can we do with the gigabit? It's all about that. And then we had one where we went and talked about, what about in Provo, what happens? So I'll let you see some of the pictures. We have a Provo specific with watching music at Velour and bringing it into your home through the internet, having the ability to do things with bigger families, because in Provo we have bigger families, right? And then, you know, seeing great color in HD from the Festival of Colors down South County, all these types of things. That's our mayor there reading to students and all sorts of interesting things. Sorry about those videos not working in some local places. So, hello Provo, goodbye loading bars. Let me share with you a little bit. What is 100 times faster like, where you saw that blue bar with Google Fiber? Well, interestingly enough, this is average speeds in America, and this is Google Fiber. Let's see what would happen. So if we, oops, I'm clicking too fast because I'm not getting good, I'm getting latency on my clicks here. See if I can get that. So if I left from Provo, average speeds in the same time it took me to get to Heber, I could be in New York. That's the relative speed difference. Now what that means is lots of things can happen. I've seen companies that do a lot of video and heavy download of big files, that this has revolutionized their company. They were in a mode of at 11 p.m. setting work to be done and coming back, and 9 a.m. in the morning it still wasn't done. And they go to a place where Google Fiber's at, and it's 4 p.m. in the afternoon, and they hit the send or receive button, and 20 seconds later that same file is done. That changes things, changes opportunities, changes applications. So why did Google Fiber choose Provo? Well, this is interesting. Choose Provo because Provo has vision. Provo built a network 10 years ago. They know what's possible. They covered the entire city with the network. They required in 2003 that any new construction lays down conduit for fiber, even if it's not pulled yet. That's visionary. They have a business-friendly environment. They like the relationships possible with the different partners in town. Lots of opportunities are here in Provo, so they like it. That's good news for all of us from Provo. We've done a lot of things. April 17th, it was announced. July, the acquisition was complete, and a massive multi-million-dollar upgrade of the network started occurring. Huge amounts of money put into making sure every component would deliver great gigabit speed. Upgraded the network. And then in November, we began upgrading customers that were already on the network, and then in January, we started selling new to customers that had not been on the network. And we're now halfway about through that process. If you live in Provo and you're in a residential single-family home, make sure you are very careful watching for the deadlines. Google Fiber is different. You can't just sign up anytime. If you miss the deadline, you will not be able to sign up later. That's important to understand. If you live in an apartment building where it's been installed, and almost every single student housing complex is going to have Google Fiber installed, you can sign up any time as you turn and take occupancy into that apartment. So that's the difference. So if you're in a single-family home renting, be very careful that you or your landlord start the process while it's available, or it won't be available there. And I have no idea when to tell you when it could be available. All right? Now, we've initiated a lot of community partnerships. Community impact's a big deal for fiber. So, for instance, there's several nonprofit or helping organizations that Google Fiber is going to give free gigabit internet access to all over the city. Some of those partnerships are at different places all over the city, and then also we've gone to BYU, and starting last year, there's been 5 BYU paid internship programs. So if you're interested, you can contact and get involved in this. We're doing it through the Self-Reliance Center, the Ballard Center here in the Marriott School, and they find us students. And for instance, at Centro Hispano, what we did was we gave 30 Chromebooks to that organization and have students go down there and teach Hispanic families and children and business owners how to get involved in the internet, how to use this high-speed internet, and we gave Centro Hispano a free gigabit connection, and so we're trying to lift the city. A lot of work's being done to make sure that the digital divide becomes digital inclusion, and that we don't just have the affluent people getting access, that everybody gets access to this equally. Now, with that, we've taken the city and divided it into 7 different neighborhoods. And I want to emphasize again, we're going through these neighborhoods. 3 have already closed. They're done. 4 more to go. And we're selling in those neighborhoods, and you have to sign up during that time at google.com/fiber/Provo, and you need to sign up. There's an address. You put in your address, and it's possible it could come back and say, not eligible, but you need to double check that. If you get a not eligible, and you try it again and get not eligible, you need to call in and make sure that's a correct thing. What's happening, sometimes the addresses are not being typed in a way that our system is reading it accurately. So that's an issue. But the thing is, don't take a no yet. Double check it. Yeah?
Just curious, why did it go by area like that?
It's just the way Google Fiber decided to do it. Google Fiber says we're going to come in and take 38,000 homes in Provo and do it in less than 9 months to install everybody that wants to be installed. And then we're going to take those resources and move them to another city. So if you want in, get in. And it's a one-time construction fee of $30 for something that costs about $1,000 to do. So it's a great deal. But don't bypass it. And unfortunately, some people are not realizing this is going on, so we're trying to get the word out best we can. All right, here's how important this is. 80% of teachers in K-12 schools give assignments that require the internet. 35 to 40% of the homes in Provo, believe it or not, do not have wired internet access. Their family depends on a mobile phone access. Hard to do your homework on a mobile phone. 80% of Fortune 500 companies only accept digital online applications. Again, if all you have is a mobile phone and you're not getting access at home, it can be a stumbling block towards career opportunities. 80% of internet users selected for health information last year. I couldn't imagine what it would be like not to have high-speed broadband access to check on health issues in my family. When something's wrong in my family, in 5 minutes I'm almost diagnosed it. If I didn't have that, it'd be a panic. If I had to think, oh, I got to make an appointment with a doctor that's 3 weeks away, and I'm worried about my sick child, we want everybody to have that kind of experience. Now, these are other things about why fast internet benefits students, and I don't want to read all this, but just a lot of student-oriented benefits to having this. There's some 9-year-old child in Provo that if they got fast internet in their home, they could become the next coding software prodigy. Without it, they'll never get that opportunity. Lots of opportunities open up with fast internet access. I have another video that I can't let you watch because we don't have sound. If you want to go see these videos on YouTube, Susan Crawford is the name, Captive Audience is the book. It's some of the most insightful videos I've ever seen on the topic of broadband internet. So hopefully you can take a look at that. And we'll.
You want me to see if I can pull it up on the main console?
Yeah, if you want to go see if you can get that, maybe one of those. In the meantime, I'll keep talking. We have 3 programs available. The $120 full meal deal is everything we offer. Gigabit internet, 2 terabytes of storage on a whole house DVR, 1 terabyte storage for your Gmail account, for your email and drive, and that's the full meal deal. Up to 4 TVs with this, and it's $120 fixed price a month. Then we have the $70 for just the gigabit without the TV, and then we have the free service, truly free. 7 years, guaranteed. If you sign up now, pay one-time $30, you get 5 megabit down, 1 megabit up, free. Now, this is interesting. Who here has experienced internet access in BYU housing, off-campus housing, where they say it's 15 or 10 or 20, but when you do a speed test, it's like 0.8? You've had that experience? And you know why, right?
A lot of times it's actually to do with your router, people bringing routers.
It can be routers, but also you're sharing, right? And so some guy's downloading 10 movies over here, right? And that stuff happens. But fiber to the home is different. When you get this connection for free to your apartment, it's a true 5 megabit and 1 megabit always, just for you. That's different. And so, unfortunately or fortunately, however we want to look at this, many BYU students are figuring this out. And who knows, who's got Google Fiber in here right now? The free option. And is it working for you? Do you like it? Is it faster than what you had before?
Streams all day.
Huh?
It streams all day.
Yeah.
Never lags reading.
Yeah, so that's experience, and that's free. Imagine what it'd be like with this, right? You could do magic things, but this is cool too. You got it up here? So let's listen to that last. Which video did you get? How long is it?
2.5 minutes.
Yeah, that one. Perfect. Let's listen to this. And then I'll wrap up afterwards. I'm going to keep going on stuff until you... Are you getting it? Okay.
This week for Warriors and Company. And here you call it the digital divide. Describe that to me.
Well, here's the problem. For 19 million Americans, many in rural areas, you can't get access to a high-speed connection at any price. It's just not there. For a third of Americans, they don't subscribe, often because it's too expensive. So the rich are getting gouged, the poor are very often left out, and this means that we're creating, yet again, two Americas and deepening inequality through this communications inequality.
So is this why, according to numbers released by the Department of Commerce, only 4 out of 10 households with annual household incomes below $25,000 reported having wired internet access at home, compared with 93% of households with incomes exceeding $100,000. These companies are not providing cheap enough access to the poor folks in this country?
These are good American companies. Their profit motives, though, don't line up with our social needs to make sure that everybody gets access. They're not in the business of making sure that everybody has reasonably priced internet access. That's how a utility functions. That's the way we need to treat this commodity. They're in the business right now of finding rich neighborhoods and harvesting, just making more and more money from the same number of people. They're doing really well at that. Comcast is now a $100 billion company. They're bigger than McDonald's. They're bigger than Home Depot. But they're not providing this deep social need of connection that every other country is taking seriously.
And you make the point that the United States itself is beginning to experience this digital divide in the world.
It's fair to say that the U.S. at the best is in the middle of the pack when it comes to both the speed and cost of high-speed internet access connections. So in Hong Kong, right now, you can get a 500 megabit symmetric connection that's unimaginably fast from our standpoint for about $25 a month. In Seoul, for $30, you get 3 choices of different providers of fiber in your apartment, and they come in and install in a day because competition is so fierce. In New York City, there's only one choice, and it's $200 a month for a connection.
You get the problem? That's the mission of what we're trying to help America overcome at Google Fiber. So if you can switch me out, I'll wrap up here. So what's happening in our city is we're forming gigabit think tanks. What we're looking for is for people like you to come up with incredible ideas of how to take advantage of what's here in Provo. There are incredible entrepreneurial opportunities available to you. What does it mean when an entire city can get connected? What does it mean with a substantial part of it can have that gigabit up and down? What software services, what things can happen? What can you deliver? Well, it's people like you, young brains, young minds, with synaptic connections that fire a lot faster than Steve and I do. How you're going to come up with these ideas. So many great opportunities. Now, one thing we're also trying to change is customer service experience. This industry, unfortunately, has a very poor customer service track record. And Google Fiber already has doubled any other company's customer stats, and it's going really well. So it's exciting. Now, another thing is we just want a great user experience when you get on and try these things. We're working at that. We're trying to let people play with the equipment, come down. We're at shops at Riverwood or downtown Provo where you can go play with the equipment and see if you like it and are having a good experience. This is our fiber space up in the shops at Riverwood. The bottom line is this. Decision one is, do you have a $30 fiber jack installed into your place, your home, or wherever you're at? If you're in an apartment, hopefully your landlord made that decision for you. If you're in a single-family home in Provo, you've got to take action, make it happen. It's $30 to have this fiber jack installed, which rightfully could cost $500, $1,000, or $1,500 of hard cost to do. Google and the mayor negotiated this deal for the citizens of Provo. The next decision is what service? Do you want free, gigabit, gigabit plus TV? Really easy decision. And then you don't have to be exclusive. Some people don't understand this. Oh, I've already committed to Comcast for a year. That doesn't mean you can't get the fiber jack installed for $30 in your home while it's available. Because next time, Google Fiber might say, nah, we're not going to do $30. It's going to maybe be the real price. That'll change things. So this is 2014 is the year to make this happen. Now, with that, other cities have gone through incredible transformations when they did this. Chattanooga has a lot longer than any of the cities on Google Fiber been offering this kind of speed at great prices, and it's changed their city. This is happening all across America now, and it's happening here in Provo. So it's exciting. Another video, we'll pass that up. That was a video about what's happening in Kansas City. So Google Fiber says thank you to Provo, but what I want to tell you and end on this note is this. The most important ingredient in entrepreneurship, and what I shared with you from my career and all my experiences that I've had, and Steve was very generous in telling about my life, and also how Larry Page and Sergey, how they founded Google and their experience, all of this happens because of the magic of entrepreneurship. And the most important ingredient of all to success is you. I can promise you this. Promise you this. Within many of you sitting in this room is an entrepreneur that can change the world for millions of people. And the only difference between you and them is that they go out and do it and make it happen. Last year, a student, the last academic year before this one, a student in my class started a company because he saw an idea when he was out on an ATV ride. He said, I'm going to start a company with a product. 5 months later, they were in 100 stores and had sold $70,000 worth. That was March of 2013. Then by the end of the year in 2013, they had sold $2.5 million worth. And in March of this year, they just had their first $2 million month. That student hasn't graduated yet. Steve knows who I'm talking about, don't you?
And he's going to graduate.
He's going to graduate too. That's amazing too, by the way. Okay. The point is this. If you're sitting there right now as a student, and I was there 30 years ago, I never knew what was going to happen to me. But the funny thing is I left this place, BYU, with the belief that I could do it. And that's it. I'm no smarter than you, probably a lot less smart. In my day, they just went, Pulse, you get into BYU. Okay. It's different now, right? So the point is, I hope you leave today knowing what you're capable of, and that within you, you could improve this world with better products and services and actually solutions that help make people's lives better and at the same time get handsomely rewarded for doing so. And I want to leave that thought with you. Thanks for your time.